How much importance do you put on loft position, Ross?
Oh, look, to be honest, loft position is everything in the pigeon game. Our races are getting shorter, we've got more mobs of birds coming through, and if you're offline on any particular race, when everyone's clocking within seconds of each other, it becomes nearly impossible to win. So loft position, unless the association does something about trying to make it a level playing field, we're probably going to keep losing members.
Since you live near the sea, I've heard that you don't have any falcon problems because all the falcons eat the seagulls around here.
Well, I can honestly say I don't think that I've ever seen a falcon attack off the roof here. And there is a lot of seagulls down here because there's a rookery just down the road. But there are falcons here, but certainly not like you got out there. And I train mainly along the coast, and I've been pretty lucky, although there's a couple of gossies moved in recent times.
Right.
And I had one on the landing board here a couple of days ago. So, but falcons, I've been pretty lucky with them.
Yeah.
There is one chap I'd like to thank. I trained the birds with him for a long while, and he pestered me really to take some of his pigeons, and then finally he gave me about 6 pigeons over a 2-year period, and they weren't all good, but there was a couple of crackerjacks in there, and they were 20 minutes better than my pigeons on the North Line, and that's virtually the Jansons that I've bred around for the last few years, and I've only introduced one other pigeon into them, and that was a cockbird that I got from my great mate Bill Burko, who's now gone, and that was as good as Reg's birds, so I crossed that in with them, and that's virtually my Jansons.
Ross, I've noticed your birds are really quiet. How do you get them so tame?
I think that the Jansons, the ones of Reg's anyway, are quieter than our local breeds, but I do spend time with them, and I put my little chair in the corner there, and I get a pocket full of peanuts, and I sit there and I hold a peanut, and now they come and they take them out of my hand, and now they sit up on my knees, and there's some pigs there that eat them all.
Yeah.
But they're just used to me, and they're fairly quiet. In matter of fact, I just can't stand wild birds. I won't tolerate them anymore. Wants to talk to me, but you go to another one, it doesn't matter how much you want to, they'll nick off. You know, but some are okay. It's like, you know, he couldn't care less, he just wants to say hello. But some of them, they don't like.
Ross, the young birds you've got in here today, how many years would you race them? You know, would it be first couple of races and you found out that they're good birds and you put them into stock, or would you continue racing them?
No, I never really take a pigeon out of the flying house and put it into stock. I race them, and if I'm a racer, and if they're there at the end of the year and they're good enough, well then I breed off of them. But if they're good enough, they go back in the flying house again the following year. But I don't really think that they go much past 3 years old. I don't know whether it's the falcons or what it is this year or now, or the way we race them now, but most of your birds seem to do better as youngsters now. The old birds will beat them for the first few races, and then the youngsters take over. But I just think if a bird is any good, it'll show you it's good as a youngster, and the same bird should then be a good 2-year-old, and the same bird should then be a good 3-year-old. And anything that's no good, well, it don't make it as a 2-year-old. And you know.
Ross, I'm particularly interested in your squares and the way you've had them made up. Can we have a bit more of a closer look at those? I think they're on the more of the European lines, aren't they?
I can't answer that. They're made by a chap called Jeff Stanley in Melbourne, and to cut a long story short, he wanted some birds, and I exchanged him some birds for some squares. So, but they're quite common in Victoria.
Particular tip that you could give somebody starting up in the sport, what would it be?
Oh, well, Very important in my opinion. When I got my first birds, I got them from here, there and everywhere, and it wasn't until I went and bought a good pair of stock birds from Peter Matthews, his #1 pair, and those pigeons virtually turned me around. In my opinion, you just have to have good pigeons. There's no substitute for good pigeons, and if you've got a slow dog, it doesn't matter how you feed it or how you train it, it's still a slow dog. And if you've got a slow horse, and horses, dogs and pigeons, if you haven't got, I think the good ones, you're wasting your time. I've had this debate with a lot of people, and I just think that really we've all only got a few good pigeons in our life.
That's right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that hit your clock. Right?
Right.
That's a Jansen. That pigeon and that pigeon there are two sisters. And that pigeon there and that pigeon there are two sisters. And they're both daughters of her. I think that sort of explains it, that if you haven't got good pigeons, most of your results come from just a few good pigeons.
Yeah.
And if you're just making the numbers up with the others, that's just how I see it anyway. That's probably the easiest way to explain it, that those pigeons they're the best ones I've got, and they're the ones that win you those main races for you. With a longer distance. So, right, yeah. And he's more the type that I like. What we've got to do is get back to the older type. I'll just show you one other picture. Never get your head off of the blue checker pied cock that I just showed you. Mated to the slate hen.
Well, this one in the head looks very similar to the ones that I've got.
Well, he is similar.
Yeah.
Because one side of the family is the same.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's a double winner, that bloke, a double club